they have you jump through hoops now just to live stream in Facebook. You can't do it. And she
Yeah.
can help you with that,
And
by the way.
yeah.
Thank
Hi,
you.
Ammon. Actually, you're just on live. Nice to meet you here.
We're live on Facebook now, Rose.
Yeah.
Oh,
Now. Yeah. Just now.
all right. All right. Well, thanks, Rose.
Thank you, Rose.
Okay.
Rose, are you intimidated by the dinosaur, or do you like the dinosaur?
Be honest, Rose. Don't tell him what he wants to hear.
Actually, I since I'm a lady, I'm kind of not into dinosaurs.
All right. Okay. Fair enough. I appreciate that. I was looking for an honest answer. All right. All right.
Thank
I have to
you.
consider my audience next time.
All right, everybody. You've heard us ramble into just kind of rambled into this. So I'm Rayana Starr. This is Ammon Brimhall, my friend. We became friends from Fortune Builders. And Ammon's been on my podcast before. It's been about a year, huh, Ammon?
It has been. It's been
Yeah.
a number of months.
So the Unstoppable Real Estate Investor podcast is where I host successful real estate investors, those who are in the top 5%. They support themselves with their real estate investing. They're making six figures. They're a coach, they're a trainer, they're out there doing it. Okay. And Ammon was a trainer, a coach, a speaker, a business coach, a real estate coach. And Ammon is on the podcast today because he, when he finally left Fortune Builders, he really wanted to do it right. He wanted to make a smooth transition into fully just supporting himself, not only with real estate, but Ammon has always had this belief that some of us are also agree with, that the real estate investment education and all these groups like Fortune Builders, it's just ridiculously expensive. And that there's always someone, trying to get your money to educate you. And that, yeah, we need education. We need to know what we're doing. But we also need to be able to then transition into implementing that education and doing it, applying it. And where Ammon's superpower is he walks the talk, and he not only educates you, but literally educates you, gives you the information, trains you. Training and coaching are different. Training is teaching you how to apply the education, and then coaching is holding you accountable to taking action, helping you with your mindset along the journey of implementing that information. And so Ammon he and I have been talking about this for what, 2 or 3 years, Ammon?
A good while.
About him creating his own education and making it affordable to people. And he's got some amazing packages, and having people get the baseline first before they're even allowed to go to other levels with him, and him really working with people in a practical way to implement and hold their hand. And he's got the patience of Job. He'll appreciate the Bible reference, being a Christian. And Latter-day Saints are Christians, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And so what I also want to share is a big decision that I'm making in this group. I've always been very upfront that I'm not a real estate investment group. I coach people that are far more successful than me in real estate. That's not my value as a coach. I mostly am a mindset and strategic business coach. And I've gotten really clear that I want to make a pivot and really focus on helping people make difficult transitions in their life, whether it's in their career, it's a divorce after being with someone for 30 years, grief, reinventing themselves, moving. Those are things that I found that are very rewarding for me in work. And I've always been very transparent that I'm more of a mindset and business coach. So I didn't even, there was not even a list when I decided who do I want to be the real estate coach, the expert who starts to take over this group, the unstoppable real estate investor. I'm always going to be a part of this group. We're going to divide and conquer. I'm going to be mindset and business. And even Ammon's admitted, wow, there's some things you could help me with, Rayana. Like he's really good at the real estate investment education and implementation, but he's got ADHD, he gets nervous, he's got this brilliant stuff swimming around, and he's like, I need someone to help me get organized. So we came together and said, well, why don't we play off of each other's strengths and co-lead this group, the Unstoppable Real Estate Investor. So today is my official introduction to let you know that Ammon is going to start positioning himself with my blessing to start to take over this group and run and be the leader of this community as far as the real estate investment expert. I'm still going to do the podcast unless there's a point where he wants to take it over, but I enjoy doing the podcast. I'm still going to be, Rose is still going to be helping. She'll help him. I'm going to still be available for mindset, for human design, for NLP. So we're going to co-lead it until I kind of drift into doing my own thing with the human design. So what I want to do in this podcast is really do my usual podcast, flow where we learn about Ammon personally, like what he was doing before real estate, what he's done in real estate, what he's currently doing now, what's the future he's stepping into, and then invite him to make a shameless plug for Broccoli Real Estate Investing, or is it Broccoli ROI Real Estate Investing?
No, it's Broccoli Real Estate.
Yeah, and really position him as the authority, as the technical real estate coach in this group. So welcome aboard, Ammon. I know that was a very long, drawn out introduction, but I think I just wanted to let people know what's going on, and you're going to start seeing him posting things. He's still creating his whole system. He's going to be working with Rose on his branding. So he's going to be experimenting and picking up steam, and you're going to see more and more of him in this group, because today is that official day of the changing of the guards. Not necessarily changing of the guards, because I'm still going to be around, but my role in this group is going to be mainly to do the podcast and then let him rock and roll. We might create some networking events together, but eventually my group will be the permission to be human design as I evolve into that. So welcome aboard, Ammon. I want to say thank you for even considering that. He and I have met a couple of times. Is there anything you want to say before we actually get into the process of the actual podcast interview?
Well, first of all, thank you. I've said this to you personally, but just thank you for considering me. And it's true. I've been in the industry for a long time, and I would say what's interesting is my skill is I'm a teacher. I can take information, make it clear. I can make it organized. I can get the steps in the right space, and I'm incredibly good at that. And for years, it's just been kind of on my conscience that, and let me say something that I think is important. I'm okay spending lots of money on something. I mean, that's fine. If somebody's just spent a lot of money, that's good. There just needs to be an ROI. There needs to be a return on
Yeah.
that. And that's the problem that's in the industry at large, is there are a lot of companies selling dreams, and so very few of their clients reach the dream that they were sold, that it's just not right. It needs to be better. If somebody's going to invest that level of money, you need to have a higher success ratio. So, we're going to accomplish that by, of course, adjusting the risk level, meaning how much people spend for beginning levels. And we're going to break it down into steps so that the risk is substantially lower, and we're going to drive success. So, no, I appreciate that. And as we get into this, I'm sure I can share more with it. But there are two things that I'm gonna kind of use as we talk about where I've been and where we're headed to. And I just want those to be in people's minds as we go forward with this. Number one, Stephen Covey in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he talks about a shift in this nation where we used to be what's called character ethic. And character ethic means that a person should be honest, a person should be thoughtful, a person should be caring. Like that's what you were. You may not communicate it effectively, but you were that. It was the goal. The goal was you were what you were trying to be. And we were shifting to what's called personality ethic. And that's where psychologists and business owners and marketers have learned how to look like you're honest, how to look like you're caring. And so that's really what's happened in our world. A lot of businesses have learned how to market. They've learned these strategies of speaking, these patterns of what to say and when to say to make them look like caring, loving, exciting entities, when in the end they aren't. And their products don't really accomplish the end goal that they state that they're going to do. And so what I'm trying to do is bring the character ethic back into education, where it is education, right? It's not just a sales gimmick that's fun and exciting, but nobody makes money. No, we want it to be what it says it is, something that leads you to true understanding and true application.
That actually delivers on the promise.
Correct. Yeah. The goal is to deliver. And if we don't deliver, then we don't deserve the profits. In other words, profits are okay as long as they're earned. And so we don't just want to look like we earned them. We want to actually earn them. And
Yeah.
the second phrase came from Rich Dad Poor Dad, and in his book, Robert Kiyosaki, he says there's a difference between something that is good and something that sells. Okay. Now that speaks specifically to character ethic versus personality ethic. He essentially said you can write a great book, right, and it might not sell, but you can write a crappy book, but you can learn to sell it well. So that stuck in my brain the first time I read that. I said, oh my goodness. I said that's kind of what American business has become, or American culture. I'm not just going to blame business. A lot of us we're seeking something that sells, that's empty calories. There's no value in it. And so I said, you know what? The goal of a true business person who's truly creating something of value, it has to both sell and be good. It has to be both. So that's why I called it broccoli. It's broccoli real estate, because we all know broccoli is good for us. There's no question. The question will be, can we get you excited about it? Can we get you rolling and get you doing deals? But point is, guys, we want to be good, not just look good. We want to get you investing, not just look like we are. We want to create something that not only sells, but we want to kick the trend and make something that's also good. So keep those two in mind as we go through kind of my history and what we'll be doing with these programs. Literally, I want to see you making money. That's the point. Not just coming here and having fun and talking about it. No, we want to see your net worth going up. That's the point. So thank you, Rihanna.
Yeah, you're welcome. I don't know what's going on with Zoom in my background, but I'm changing it because it's cut it off. So now that we've made this big announcement, I got distracted with my background. For some reason, it's cut off on the sides.
I completely understand.
Yeah. Anyway, so the way this usually goes is we just hear about who Ammon was and what you were doing before real estate. Then when did the real estate bug bite you? And then how did you start in real estate? What have you done in real estate? What has been your biggest challenge? Now I'm going to break this all down and come back to it. I'm just laying out the agenda. And then what's been your biggest challenge? What are you doing now? Where are you heading? What's your focus? Your plug, which we've already done, but we'll do more of if there's something coming up that you want to say, hey, look, if you've been hanging out for years and you're not doing deals, you might want to start here. This is a program I do where I show you the 1, 2, 3, and I literally walk you through doing your first deal. He literally holds your hand. So we'll talk about that towards the end. And then the rooftop message. That's my claim to fame. That's my thing, is if you were to jump up on a rooftop and you had a captive audience and you could disperse words of wisdom and they were hanging on your every word and determined to follow your advice, what would it be? So let's start with, so that's where we're going. So Ammon, talk about Ammon, not your life story, just the abstract version. And I've asked for feedback on the background. How's everyone liking Tyrannosaurus Rex in the background with his big mean mouth coming at you? I personally don't like it. He loves it because he's an agitator. Ammon loves to get into debate. He's very intelligent. We cannot talk about politics. Well, we can because I'm not that positional about politics, but he can argue anyone under the table and you can still like him afterwards. I mean, he's a delightful human being, but very opinionated, and he has his way of being able to back up what he believes. So he was not budging on me challenging him on that background. He's like, what do you mean? It's just the teeth. He's a friendly guy. I'm like, I don't think so. So please weigh in just for fun on Tyrannosaurus there if you like that background. All right, so Ammon, just having some fun with you. Talk about Ammon pre-real estate.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for the feedback on the background. I love this one. Like I was thinking about, I was like, just for my own energy, like I just love it when it's behind me. And so when you got on and said, Ammon, that might like really intimidate people. Like that never dawned on me. Like I thought it's just awesome. So my man self is coming out here, and not my think of other self.
Yeah, we asked Rose who wouldn't hurt a fly, and she's like, well, I'm a lady and I'm really not into dinosaurs.
Yeah, so it definitely energizes me, but definitely I'm really into the feedback. But you know, yeah. So you don't want me to start with I was born on and I weighed so many pounds, right?
No.
So, yeah. Okay, we'll move forward.
And the missions and your
Yeah,
the Mormon stuff. No, we don't need any.
we'll leave all that out. Okay. So in my career side, I actually I did drop out of college, and like Rihanna said, there, you know, challenges are insane. And so when people come and they'll tell you, hey, I've got this program, if you just follow it, you're going to succeed. What's interesting is we never talk about us, or we're a part of that component, a part of that game. And so it's true. I'm intelligent, got into college, but emotionally I've got a lot of anxiety, a lot of those kinds of things that I think more people deal with than we recognize. But I dropped out of college for probably not the right reasons. I started framing, so framing at $12 an hour in the snow and in the mud, had a young family.
So
And
carpentry, building framing for houses and stuff.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I did. So for a couple years, and at that time I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. I think pretty much everybody who's listening has probably read the book if you haven't heard of the book. But it's really a great book. It really illustrates the truth between wealth creation and non-wealth creation. If you have businesses and you have assets, you get wealthy. And it was an incredible book. I love the book. And so it was just really powerful. And so to me, I said, okay, I need to learn to get into business, need to get into real estate. Wasn't long after that a seminar company came through, the ones that had been around for decades, and they got me excited. Say, hey, buy my system, you'll get rich in 6 months. Quit your job, go ahead and buy your yacht now. You're going to make it. So I went ahead and borrowed the money, $25,000, bought into that program, and family thought I was nuts. And going back, I would definitely do that differently. I thought it was nuts the way I went about it. But I'm a very determined person, like Rihanna said. I'm kind of stubborn in some ways. And so I started it and I stuck at it. I mean, I just stuck to it. And, I learned really quickly that, that the educational industry, they give you the big picture, and it's not a lie. It's not necessarily a scam, but they don't fill in the holes. They just don't do it. So they throw, some boot camps at you. They throw some instructors at you. But, I learned an interesting reality is a lot of those people will actually rent the cars they drive. Like your instructor will show up in this really nice car. That car is rented in many cases. Or you'll go to this really nice house. You think it's the instructor's house. It's not.
It's all smoke and mirrors. It's
It
a
is.
facade. Yeah.
Yep. Because like I said, it's personality ethic. They want to look like they're these things. And so anyways, I got into it. I wasn't doing well, and I realized there's so many holes. Like filling out a contract was so hard for me when I started. And I called the coach, and this coaching company didn't have, the coaches hadn't even done a deal. They're just reading out of a book. And so they couldn't even really help me figure out how to fill out a purchase and sale agreement. So I worked really hard for 6 months, got nowhere, and was pretty much on my own. I had one boot camp, but I'm like, I just spent a ton of money. I got to make it. So, and I think this is worth telling, but I got to a point where I was like, what am I going to do? Like I am facing some serious financial issues here. I wasn't making a lot of money to begin with, had a young family, and I do believe in God. And there's no doubt as I was sitting there that day, just really stressed, I was like, I'm sunk. What do I do? Yeah. And I just had a thought come to mind, which was, well, you've been doing this for 6 months. What have you learned? And my thought was, I've learned a ton. I've really progressed in a lot of ways. And the next thought was, well, what if you in another 6 months? And my thought was, well, I'll probably do a deal. I mean, I've learned a ton, I've really grown. And then the next thought was, well, why not be patient? Okay. So guys, again, I mean, a lot of people say there's no evidence of God. To me, that was a beautiful thing where God just says, look, you're working hard, you're progressing, just be patient. So took me another 6 months, literally, to get my first deal. And in that deal, I found it. I had no money, I had no cash, none whatsoever. But I had another investor who I showed the deal to, and he's like, that's a great deal. I said, yeah. And he said, if you don't do it, I will. I said, let's split it. And he was gracious enough. I said, good, let's do it. So we split that deal 50-50. I made $30,000. He made $30,000. That was our net profit when it was over, which effectively just paid off my debt. It didn't really get me ahead, but that was the beginning. That was the first deal. Very hard first year. And from there, I started lease optioning and renting. And then my wife and I actually moved into our duplex. That's the first one we bought. And from there, just started doing real estate. And it was about 5 years later, I ran across coaching. And when I got into it, I just ended up being very good at it. It was just kind of a natural thing when I stepped in. I rose up very quickly in that first coaching company, became the lead coach. Highest paid without really knowing it. They just kind of raised, my pay in that element because I was so good at getting.
Was that before Fortune Builders?
Yeah, it was a good number of years before Fortune Builders. Mm-hmm.
Well, take a pause there for a sec. So what did you bought that first duplex? You kind of broke even. What, and had you done any other real estate deals when you started coaching?
Yeah, so I did that first flip where we split it, and then I did another joint venture with another gal. We made 20 grand, and then I did a lease option, and then I did another flip, and then I bought this duplex I moved into. And so by the time I started coaching, I'd done 10, 11, 12 deals. I'd done a ton of them. I mean, to tell you how sloppy the industry was, I actually quit a sales job. So I started investing in real estate. I quit framing and I started selling. And I learned a lot about the seminar industry there too, because I was selling programs on how to how to start investing in stocks, those programs, and selling programs like how to create eBay and Amazon selling channels. And I learned in these sales positions that, again, there's lots of dreams sold, but very little quality deliverance. So I literally walked out of that job. I said, I can't do this. I told my manager, I said, I mean, I sold something and somebody got on the phone and said, that was a lie. And so I went to my manager and said, did I sell a lie? He said, well, yeah, it wasn't totally true. I was like, you're letting me sell something dishonest. And it was just, it smashed me. And so I walked out of that job because I hadn't done enough deals to really pay my bills. Sorry, go ahead, Rihanna.
Yeah. So, what I love about that is like, that speaks to values and integrity right there, personal integrity, because a lot of us, I think we've all been guilty of this when we were younger. Some people will sell their souls just to make a buck, but that's why I work with clients, and if they haven't figured out their vision, their mission, and their core values, we work on that, because that steers them into operating correctly, being in integrity with themselves, knowing who to hire, who they're going to work with, what's important, why they're doing it, if their motivation, all of that. And if you're working for a company where there's a disconnect in values, like they're scumballs, and you're someone of integrity, and you keep working for them, you're not in alignment with who you are. And over time, if you do that over time, it literally can affect your health, your well-being, and because you're misaligned. So this is where he and I balance each other out, because I'm going for the mindset stuff, I'm going for the values, and he's talking about the real estate and what you do in real estate. But that speaks a lot to his character, because Ammon is someone with a high degree of personal integrity and responsibility. And that's why we've maintained a friendship for, God, 8 or 9 years now, something like that, because we
That is
met pretty
wild.
early in our fortune builders and clicked right away. I remember where I met Ammon. It was a boot camp in San Diego, and a bunch of us coaches were at some kind of little happy hour thing. It was outside. He came up, we introduced ourselves. He doesn't drink, a Mormon, don't defile the body. And I was impressed by that. And we just got talking, and I just thought he was so funny and fun and brilliant and had so much character and integrity. So, that is something I wanted to just pause on, because if you're working in this industry and it's not in alignment with who you are or your values or your work ethic, admit that to yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. 95% of the people who dabble in real estate investing, it's not for them. They don't succeed. It's okay. This is not a get rich quick industry. It's not an easy industry at all. People get, like Ammon's saying, get sold a dream, and then they just think it's going to be easy. The way Ammon and I both are in alignment on that, you need to treat this like it is a college degree investment, and you're also going to need to do an internship. You're going to need to spend years learning and years through trial and error before you get this. Most really successful real estate investors weren't successful right out of the gate. On average, from all the people I've interviewed over the last few years, on average, most successful real estate investors, it was about 18 months before they got their stride. Not before they got their first deal, but for some of them, yes. And it was really 2 or 3 years before they were really had the momentum. So I hope that makes some of you feel good. Go ahead, Ammon. Thanks
Yeah.
for the commercial break.
Yeah, you bet. I'll say this. Part of the reason it takes people so long is because the education is so poor, right? It's not meant to be good education. It's meant to
Yeah, it's
sell.
not connecting the
It's
dots.
not. And so you're forced, it kind of gives you the high points, and so you have to fill it in. So unless you're really like stubborn headed and pig headed, a lot of people don't have the money, the time, the energy, or the situation to push through all that garbage. And so if you change that and you shift the education, I believe that more people can succeed faster if you start selling something that's good, not just something that sells, right?
Yeah.
So to that point, but yeah, I walked out of that job, and I have to be careful here, Rihanna. I want everybody to know I do believe in ethics, but please, please, please do not assume I'm a great man. I'm like every other person out there. I'm trying my best to be a good man, right? And I have a phrase, I made this one up, and I said the only way to not be a hypocrite is to set low standards, right? Meaning,
Yeah.
I set standards well above what I'm able to live, and I preach them like crazy. And somebody comes to me and says, "Well, you're a hypocrite." I said, "Well, that's true, but I'm not going to abandon the standard. I'm going to keep trying to reach it." And so, don't,
Yeah.
don't, I mean, I try, but I'm still human for sure. But I think it's our obligation to at least try, right? And that's the point of being a Christian, is when I failed, my job is to repent, right? That's the point. But in any case, so I got out of that business. I walked out that day, and this is another time where I think God was in my life, where I just said, "This isn't good," and I wasn't making enough money really to pay my bills. I'd done a couple deals and was going, and it was rolling and whatnot. But I walked out of that interview, and another guy just walks out the door with me, and I said, "Where are you going?" He says, "I'm going for an interview for a real estate coach." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Can I come with you?" So literally, I walked out of that door with him. I drove with him to another office. I sat down, and I had no idea what it was even going to be. And I said, "Can I interview?" I said, "Sure." So I sit down. He says, "Well, tell me tell me about a contract." So right there on the spot, I made up a lesson on a contract, and I spent 15 minutes teaching about contracts. He says, "You're hired." That's how I got into coaching. And so that was, framing to sales, learned a lot about the industry, got sick of the industry, got out of it. Then I got into coaching, and that was my way in, and that's how I got into the coaching industry. And like I said, that was just serendipity, a blessing. I ended up being good at it, and gosh, I'm getting close to 20 years in coaching now. So that was in my mid-20s.
Okay, so the coaching piece we've got, talk about from that point on, after the duplex, you and your wife moved in, you got into the coaching, continue with the real estate investment piece.
Yeah. So I
Your
will bring
journey.
this up. Yeah. So I will say this, and I think this is very, very true. and
Wait,
that
let me
is-
interrupt. The reason I want you to talk about your real estate investment journey is because you've done things that a lot of people haven't. You do private money lending, you do tax liens, you do mobile homes, you develop raw land, you have a lot of unique experience. And what I like to emphasize and showcase on my podcast is there's so many ways you can make money in real estate. Pick a
Yeah, there
lane,
really are.
pick a, you know, and that it doesn't have to be in the traditional ways. And really, the highest risk and lowest reward is fix and flips. There's so many other ways to make money in real estate. And Ammon has been willing to explore a lot of different ways he does that. So share some of that experience with us, Ammon.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll share this, and hopefully it's valuable. It is valuable. It's not sexy, but it's valuable, right? And that's why it's called broccoli real estate. Broccoli's really good for you. It doesn't taste like a good hamburger or a good soda, but it's really good for you.
Yeah, it's
Um,
not carrot cake with cream cheese frosting, but it will
but
keep you healthy.
yes, it will. And that's the problem is most people out there selling the sugar, telling you it's going to get you rich. It's not. It's empty calories. And so the fact of the matter is wealth is about who we are. It's about who we become. It's about your own sense of discipline, your sense of confidence. It's about how you organize your thoughts. It's how you go about things. There's lots of great knowledge we don't apply. And we don't apply it because we haven't developed. And that's, Rayanna's space is where we develop as a person. Real estate's no different. Knowing how to, do well in real estate is very different than doing well at real estate. And so, as I went through this again, I mean, it was a tough time. It was, for whatever reason, my history. I didn't have a lot of self confidence. I'm very bold, very out there, but some big challenges have been a part of my life. I left home when I was 15. And so, as I got into real estate, my self doubt came up in a really, really big way. So, a lot of that anxiety, a lot of that worry. My first duplex, I remember buying it. This is the night before we're moving into it. And I couldn't sleep. And my wife turns to me and she says, "So what's going on?" And I said, "We're going to die." Like, those were my words. And I've asked her about it all these years past. She said, "Yeah, that's what you said." I couldn't, I not like it wasn't like a warm, exciting nervousness. I was terrified, like out of my ever loving mind. And I was like, "What am I doing?" And she said, "Well, why are you nervous?" I said, "Look, I'm in my early 20s. Nobody rents from a kid. I'm a kid. I'm gonna rent to adults. So it's not gonna work." And I said, "I'm borrowing," and this is back in the day when 130,000 was a lot of money. Now 130,000 is like, it's a date night. But but I was buying this duplex for 135 grand, and it needed so much work, and I was just like, "It's bigger than I am. It's gonna crush us. It's gonna kill us. We're dead." And I remember her saying, she's like, "Well, okay, well, what are we gonna do?" And I remember just telling her, I was like, "Well," I said, "we've done the research. I've spent a lot of time. We've done a couple deals. It makes sense to buy." I said, "The only reason is I'm just afraid, and I don't know why I'm afraid. I'm just so horribly, terribly afraid." I said, "But you don't not do something just because you're afraid."
All right, pause there. Right there. Excuse my language because you're a Christian, but fuck the fear and do it anyway. It's really that. So the difference between Ammon and me is I'm actually fearless. I don't feel a lot of fear. So, and I when I do feel fear, I listen to it because it's my instinct, it's my intuition saying, "Hey, there's something up." That's why I don't go to watch scary movies. I don't deliberately desensitize myself to fear so I can use it as a tool. But I'm predominantly a pretty fearless person, whereas Ammon is courageous. Ammon has a lot of fear and anxiety. He admits that to me almost every time we talk, but he doesn't let it stop him. And that is why only 5% of the people who attempt to be real estate investors succeed, because most people let the fear stop them and they never go forward. And every time he's done something in real estate, he's had fear, but he's taken action anyway. So continue on this particular story, Emma, because this is such a good part of your story. You're almost immobilized by terror, not just fear, but terror, like the worst elevation of fear. How did you get through it?
Yeah, well, again, I know a lot of people don't like to talk about religion, but and they like to, and I guess religion hurts a lot of people, but I had this faith that it's my job, it's my purpose in life to try and live a good life. That's the point. And in the times when fear was attacking me, it was generally leading me to destructive pathways, right? I'm like, if I do that, it's really destructive to me. It's destructive to my family. That's not going to work. And so I'm looking at this real estate deal, and I'm like, it all works. It works in my mind. I've run the numbers. I've done the research. I've done the studies. Like, it all checks. All the boxes check. And I'm also a very analytical guy. And so I got to the point where I'm like, it all checks. It's healthy for my family to buy this. It's good for my family to buy this. And so the only reason left was a fear. And I'm like, it dawned on me that moment. I'm like, that's an irrational fear. This isn't this, like you said, there's healthy fear where you're like, okay, wait a minute. I need to listen to that fear and take action.
There's a bear charging me. I need to get out of the way. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, or even when you do a real estate deal, I mean, there's a sense of fear because there's risk in it, and you should do your research and make sure
Yeah.
you've done the right things. Otherwise, you should be afraid. But I'd already done it, and so I was sitting there that night, and I said, the fear that's here is not the rational kind. It's completely just coming from somewhere I don't understand. And I've grown a lot over the decades, and I understand where that fear comes from better. I handle it better. I have techniques for dealing with it, but it's still there. I have to use techniques for it, and that's it. I just said, well, if I don't do it, what else am I going to do? Go hide in a hole? I was like, that doesn't work, honey. I was like, we have kids to raise. We've got a retirement to hit. I have the way I want to go about it. We've set this goal. We've been working on it. We've done a couple deals. I'm like, I'm not willing to step away from all the opportunities just because fear is there. And so I did that, right? And we did it. We bought it, and it was interesting. Within like a couple months, people were renting from me, and I was like, I don't know why I was even afraid. People, they don't care how old you are; they're renting from me. I was like, that was a ridiculous fear. And then,
So it was a rental?
yeah, it was a rental. We moved into a duplex one side, and we rented out the other side, and the rehab was tough, and that was a little stressful. But we got it done. We got the other side rented out. I sold that building 2 years ago, and I sold it and bought 3 buildings in Tennessee. So it was really fun just to have that fruition just a couple years ago. $340,000 is what that building put in. We put $6,000 to move into it, and 18 years later, that turned into $340,000. Right, $6,000 to 340. Incredible.
And what did you buy it for?
135. We sold it for 470.
Yeah. You basically almost tripled or double
Well,
135.
it tripled the value of the building, but if you take a look at $6,000, if you divide that into 340, like, the return on investment is insane.
Yeah, it really
my
is.
money was 6,000. Now, it didn't cash flow. That's something I tell people. Again, a lot of the gurus say, buy a rental and you can retire. There's a lot of kind of misleading teaching there that you have to understand. I love rentals, but anyway, it from the 6,000 to 340. I mean, we'd have to divide that out, but that's thousands of, maybe not thousands.
Well, not to mention the passive income. It paid your mortgage and then some probably, and the value when you sold it. How long had you had that property?
About 18 years. About 18 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it didn't cash flow. I would say that it paid its own bills, but that's better than going to work and paying a 401k, because at a 401k, I have to work to
Yeah, your mortgage was paid for. Yeah.
Yep. It just happened.
All right. So tell us, like, other deals that you've done, because you've done creative stuff. You've gotten into tax liens, you've done fix and flips. Did you ever do any wholesaling? You've done rentals, you've done some private money lending. So talk about your evolution. All right. So that you had the fear of God, and you literally, and then you did it. You've been very successful with that deal. Then what?
Well, when you're doing real estate, there's always a shiny object, and they're always selling a new program. There's always this, there's always that. And so because I was around the industry, I learned about tax liens. So I did some tax liens, and I learned about mobile homes, and I did some mobile homes. So yeah, a lot of wholesaling, a lot of fix and flips, lease options, creative financing, subject twos, pretty much anything in the real estate world. What I learned, and this is a really important lesson again, is when you're a real estate investor that does what we do in this industry, your job is to find somebody with a problem. That's your focus. A lot of people say, well, I'm a lease optioner, I'm a flipper. No, what we are is we find people that have a problem with their real estate, and then we solve it. And I learned that that's how you make money. And so, solving it, sometimes in some years, lease options were great. So for example, as it was building up to 2008, lease options were great. And then 2008 hit, lease options stink. And so then it was short sales. And so you learn that there's a variety of tools and resources that you have, and as you find the situations, you apply them. And so that means that there isn't a strategy you've heard of that I haven't done. I will say that I don't do Airbnb and I haven't done brand new builds. Those are the two that I haven't done. But outside of those two, well, I do brand new builds, but on manufactured homes. I just consider them a different line. But outside of those two, I've done everything you've ever heard of. And the fact is, whatever you've heard of, a new guru is going to rename it and sell the exact same thing under a different name tomorrow. So there's very little that's actually truly new in the last 2 or 3 decades. It sounds new, it sounds flashy, but it's not. So that's it. I mean, I've done everything, and it's the same today. I mean, I've got a raw land split I've got right now. I have a mobile home fix and flip I'm doing. I've got a brand new mobile home development that I just sold. I was just helping a buddy buy tax liens the other day. I do subject twos. That I bought I did a pre-foreclosure subject two. In that pre-foreclosure, I helped a guy complete a probate. So just think of any strategy you've ever heard. I've done it, and it's been in buying, fixing, flipping, wholesaling, and landlording in the residential space.
Love it. What would you say has been your biggest challenge in real estate?
What I've already mentioned is
The
I've
fear.
had to grow, right? Yeah, no, it really is true that you have to grow. And I also, like I said, I came from a home where my parents expected me to be an ethical person. So, I got into pre-foreclosures, and when you go to a church and you deal with pre-foreclosures, people are like, well, aren't you taking advantage of people? Right? So I had to work through that. I was like, well, how do I go to somebody who's about to lose their house and make money on it, and as a Christian not feel like I'm taking advantage of them? And I can't just justify it. I can't make up a reason that's just false. I have to actually truly provide value. So that was a part of it. Again, the anxiety, the fear has been very much the personal side. As far as the intellectual side, I get it. Like, I can say this, I don't think I'm being prideful, but I think in terms of understanding the industry and how you actually get rich in it, I don't think there's anybody out there that can explain it or understand it more thoroughly and effectively than I can. But again, it's not what we know. It's what's inside of us that allows us to act on what we know that determines our success. And so that's been it. Personal development has been the biggest barrier and I can get really specific about different things. I can talk for hours on it, but personal growth and personal improvement and dealing with that fear and learning how to organize has been the biggest challenge.
Love it. If you were to take someone new, just maybe someone in this community that was new or has been around, but they haven't really done anything, which one of your courses would you recommend for someone starting out, and why? And tell us a little bit about your approach in that course so that they can get a feel for how you approach things. So you would want to educate them, but you would also want to, hey, I'm going to help you apply this information and hold your hand. So because you have a tiered system, right? Where unless they've actually taken action on the first piece of education, there is no way you're going to let them into you're not going to go any further with them. They have to apply what they're learning, right?
Yeah.
So talk about where you would start with someone.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, let's just shift it because I've been doing real estate and teaching it. I've been doing both now for, over 15 years.
Yeah, you did a lot of the webinars. You held down the whole webinar for the last couple of years at Fortune Builders.
Yeah, that's right. And like I said, what's interesting is I didn't know I had that talent, but I'm incredibly good, like I say, at looking at a topic and saying, how should this be taught? And if I'm working with somebody, I can know why. Like a lot of people, a lot of you that are listening to this, you have fear not because you're like me, you don't have a natural anxiety or fear, but you're fearful because you really don't know what to do. And that's a natural fear. If you run into a dark room, not knowing what's there, you run in full like running full pace in, you're going to be afraid because your body's like, what am I going to run into? Right? And it's a logical fear. You don't want to run into the coffee table, bark your shins, and then smack your head on the corner of the wall. And so, but that's what's happening is you're joining, all these companies. I'm not singling out Fortune Builders. I'm talking about the industry, right? Just the industry as a whole. They sell you this thing and they say, go, 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 go. They give you enough education to know there's money in that room. And they give you just enough that there's a little bit of light. You can see shapes in there, but then they say, go make offers. And then they push you in there like crazy. Make offers, make offers, make offers. And your terror is because you haven't been prepared. And so because I've been in the industry for so long and because I just have a natural ability, I've just broken it down to what needs to happen. And so really,
Yeah, and you've gotten very granular with it too. Like you'll walk your clients through, all right, look, let's fill out the purchase and sale agreement. Okay, now this is how you analyze repairs. This is how you make an offer. That, you
Yep.
know, you get really into, there is no stone unturned. You're literally walking them. You're very transactional with your students.
Yeah, well, it's like this, Rihanna. When somebody joins a real estate education program, what they're told is you can make X amount of money, and that X amount of money will allow you to eventually either leave your job or retire, right? And I knew a couple who just flipped a house a year, kept their jobs, and it was awesome. They loved it. So there's so many ways to do it, but that's what you're told. And so I'm a literal dude, right? I'm an analytical guy. I'm like, if a company sends me a client that says you can do a deal which will make you money, which will pay off your program, I'm like, well, then you better damn well make some
Show
money.
me how to do that.
Yeah, that's that. I mean,
Right.
that's what you were sold. That's what they need to do. And the companies didn't care, right? What they really cared about was making sure the experience stays exciting enough to make the upsells for the next 30 days, because that's how
Yeah.
it works. They get your trust. They have 30 days to sell you as much as they can because they still have your trust. They've maxed out your cards. They give you enough stuff. You had a great experience, or that they can claim legally that they gave you the product. And then if you complain, they have a little team to get rid of complaints quickly, and that's what they do. But in the end, their success ratios, like how many people are making money back versus not, they don't look at that. That's not one of their, it's not one of their metrics. It's how many sales do we make and how much sales did we retain, not how many deals have somebody done. To me, if I'm going to sell a product, I need to deliver, and that lack of metric is a problem. So
Yeah, and unfortunately, not just in the seminar space, marketing. I have spent tens of thousands of dollars hiring marketing coaches, marketing programs, marketing systems to be, there's not one that wasn't a disappointment where I was overpromised and underdelivered, or in order to apply it, it was just jumping through hoops. It was not easy to get the ROI that was promised. And
yeah,
that's so frustrating. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to bring you into the group, but also why I'm shifting in the direction I'm going with my coaching, because I like to, I don't want to be a hypocrite, and I want to help people with things I'm qualified to help them with. And so I just really appreciate that. Is there any question I haven't asked that you'd like to answer, or anything that you'd like to share before we wrap up?
yeah. Let me share this drawing here really quickly. And let me share a drawing, and then let me just share my website here. Let's see if I can bring it up. I'm going to share my screen. So,
You can put it on your background.
I wish I had that technical capacity. I'm going to really say horrible at technology. Can you allow me to share the screen?
Yeah, I just did.
Okay, awesome. All right, so there's so much more to talk about here, but let me just show you guys. This is what I mean. So it's broccoli real estate. It's broccoli because, guys, these calories are good for you. I literally have a monopoly on the industry where I'm truly an educational company, not just a sales company. So what it is if you look at this is your foundations. Before you ever make an offer, this is what you need to master. Now, I created a graph so that if you're struggling, I can show you exactly where you're struggling. So a lot of people will come to me after they've been to these, like they'll join a company, they'll get upsold this website, they'll get upsold this marketing, and 2 weeks later they're marketing for deals. And I'm like, you're like a soldier who skipped boot camp and is looking for the enemy without a rifle and his camo, right? You're like that's a bad juju, right? You can't do that. Well, this is the foundations, guys. This is not sexy. This is broccoli. Okay, sexy is I show you the foreclosure listing and say go talk to them. That just gets your adrenaline pumping. I'm not about getting your adrenaline pumping. I'm getting your bank accounts big. So this is an example of what my first course actually is. This is a beginner, the beginner course. You cannot get into my second course unless you've mastered the first. You can't. I won't sell it to you because it makes no sense to sell you the sexy stuff if you can't do this. It's just like letting you into the NFL if you don't know how to throw a football. It makes no sense. Well, here it is. Comparables. Most people I train who come to me and struggling to do a deal, they can't even do comparables effectively, right? They don't know how a loan actually works. They don't know how escrow and title, once you fill out a purchase and sale agreement, they don't know how that works. They don't know how to estimate repairs, okay? And in the guru space, nobody really teaches how escrow and title works. I think I'm the only guy who's created an actual class on that. And so when you master these four, you can master what's called the deal analyzer. So I know everybody on this call has probably had a deal analyzer from some company or another, but the vast majority of you can't fill it out effectively. Why? Because you were never forced to learn these subtopics, which would prepare you to be effective with the deal analyzer. And so what you're all doing is you're out looking for deals and you don't even know what you're doing. So your fear is based on the fact that many holes aren't filled in. So I just wanted to show this to show you guys what I'm trying to accomplish. There's 3 levels. This is your foundations level. Then there would be a little more advanced level. And then there would be, you can't even start really making offers in my program until the 3rd level. And so effectively, I'm telling you, I don't even want you making offers for 6 months, right? And so to do that, I can't charge you 30 grand and have you with $800 a month credit card payments. We've got to start it separately. So these courses in terms of pricing and things are far, far below what others are at. And then when you get to my 3rd course, you're making offers. Sure, I can charge more for that. But here's the thing. You've actually completed the courses and you've learned, which means you've proven that you're likely to succeed on a higher level package. Here's something that a lot of you don't know. If you track the statistics on people who complete the courses they buy for 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 grand, fewer than 80%, right? I'm sorry, fewer than 20% even finish the courses, right? It's like 10 to 15 that will finish all their courses, right? You get sold the dream, and then there's so many holes you get discouraged and don't finish. So I just want to show you a little bit of a graphic. And then what I'll say is this. Again, I could probably spend another hour just explaining my philosophy and what's behind it, but the core is this. I force you to learn what you're supposed to. I make you eat your broccoli so that when you get to making offers, you're truly prepared. Now, if you want to know more about it, this is my website, Broccoli Real Estate. We're still working on it. And I mean, it's here. It's fully functional. You can get in there. But if you come here to products, you can right now schedule coaching calls with me. That's something that you can do. But what I invite everybody to do is get onto the free webinar. Okay, just come in here, broccoli.com, and then get in there. It's every other Wednesday. It's free. We meet for an hour, but it's nothing but real estate topics. So it's not mindset. Well, it's everything on that graph. But we do this, and you learn more about my philosophy there. Of course, I'll be working here as well, but you can join me in that, and I can share more with you about that particular space. But just know this. I really believe there should be something created that's more like a college set of courses where you can invest class by class without having to break your bank and risk bankruptcy or divorce or self-harm because you're so far in debt and you haven't made your money back. And I think we should see a greater level of success. And finally, those who find they don't want to do it, they should know before having spent 30 grand. Spend a couple thousand, find out it's not for you. Great, you go walk away with some knowledge. But that's just the quick basics I would share there. So join me on these webinars, and where it's purely real estate related. A lot of that content will probably shift over here as well. But join me there, and that's it. That's what I'd share for now. We can move towards wrap up.
All right. Well, thanks, Ammon. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. Let me see what's going on in the group. Hey, everybody, now's the time to ask questions in the group. And if you have any questions specifically for Ammon, it looks like we've got a bunch of people who've been on and watching. And it doesn't look like we have any questions. So everyone, I want you to just give Ammon a warm welcome if you're watching this live, or if you're watching the replay later, please give him a warm welcome because he is going to be co-leader of this group with me. You're going to start seeing more content and material from him. Rose is also going to be helping him. So there's continuity in handing over leadership of the group over time. So he's going to be promoting some of his webinars, his workshops, but he's doing it with a purpose to attract you as clients so that he can help you succeed as a real estate investor. He's not just going to give. He's here. It's a business. He's working it as a business. And so, let
me add this to that, Rihanna. I really do believe it's totally okay to charge. The standard I set is that when you pay for an education or a coach, there should be a return on investment. That's the standard, right? I've spent a lot of years building my knowledge base and things. I'm certainly not going to give it away for free, but it should be done at a level that your chances of success are very, very high. and it should be done at a level where I'm not risking truly your family's well-being in doing it. And so as long as I can deliver an ROI, that's the standard. So if you ever, get on a coaching call with me, ask, did I get an ROI on that? And if I didn't give it, I want you to tell me. If you join a course that I'll create, which I will be, if you go through that course and you're like, that didn't really move me sincerely and substantially forward, I need to know that. It's the ROI. Like, if I invested, did I get true results? Not just did I have a good time, it was exciting, I met people. No, did you move towards doing a deal? And that's the standard. But yeah, no, it's not a charity. The point is to make you wealthy, but the point is not just to make you think I'm making you wealthy. The point is to truly moving forward.
Right. It's very practical.
Yeah.
So everyone, please, connect with Ammon. Ammon, drop your links in this live event. When you go into the group, go ahead and drop any links to your website. And everybody, go out there and take action. No more excuses. You don't need to take any more excuses, because you've got me, you've got Ammon, you've got people here to guide you. And go get results, go take action, implement, face the fear, and do it anyway. Have a wonderful rest of your week. We're over the hump Wednesday, so make the rest of your week count. Go out there and make offers. Go get a deal. Bye, everybody.
God bless.